Good morning, folks. This is David Wood with the Chesapeake Stormwater Network. It's going to take a few moments for folks to kind of join us as they trickle in from the waiting room. So bear with us. We'll get started in just a moment once I see the numbers slow down a little bit. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I know we've got a relatively small group today, which is totally fine. We got our registration out a little bit late last week, so we'll be kind of sending around this recording. I'll let you guys know about that in just a second. But I'm excited to have our webcast today. It's actually our first of 2022, as we sort of are been working on some other programs and all of that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. But today is going to be the first in what will eventually be a series of several webcasts on what we're calling our campus stormwater series. A number of webcasts and webinars with different university and college partners around the Chesapeake Bay Watershed, focusing on stormwater programs on those campuses. So today we are starting with Morgan State University. So we're excited to have them. So I'll just go ahead and do a couple of quick intros really quick, like housekeeping items and whatnot. Basically, I will have just two quick poll questions to kick us off this morning. So those will pop up on your screen at the time. If you're watching with a group of folks, you can just select the answer that kind of best represents your group. We will have some time for Q&A at the end today. Question and answer, you can do it two ways. We have our chat box in the toolbar. We also have the Q&A feature open as well. At this point, I think a lot of you are familiar with Zoom, so hopefully you can find those. But if not, just let me know and I can help direct you. Like I said, we are recording this session, so we will have the archived version ready to go and hopefully posted to our website no later than the end of this week, along with a PDF of the slide deck. So if you missed anything or want to share it with any colleagues, you can certainly do that. If it is not up or you don't see it, feel free to email me and I can get that over to you or make sure that I get that expedited along. And then finally, we do appreciate your feedback. We have just a really short 3-question survey at the end to just let us know how we're doing, give us some feedback on what we can do to make the webcast series better in the future. So if you can take a second to fill that out before you leave today, I would really appreciate it. For those of you who are not familiar with the network, this is just my quick plug, Chesapeake Stormwater Network. We are a 2-person nonprofit organization. We've got 3 right now as our intern is on board, actually a Morgan State student herself. And then we are, doing, in addition to these webcasts, we have our monthly newsletters, fact sheets and resources, our Best Urban BMP in the Bay Awards or BUBBAs, as well as a number of other training workshops and resources. And all of it is free. So we appreciate you being able to support us when you can. You can join our network. That is also free, just gives you, the inside track to what we were working on. So we encourage you to do that if you have not already. So with that, I will go ahead and put in the couple of poll questions that we have. The first one is just the opening poll, just to ask who you're representing today. We'd like to know sort of who our audience is, whether you're with a local government, state government, private sector, academia, or a nonprofit organization. You can just give us the answer that sort of best represents who you're with. If none of those seem to fit, you can also tell us in the chat box. And then the second question that we have today is sort of what's bringing you to today's webcast. Are you with another college or university kind of looking to hear what others are doing? Maybe you aren't with a college or university, but kind of want to see if there's any lessons or if there's maybe, partnership opportunities or sort of ways you can work together. Maybe you're just a CSN groupie. You're joining all of our webcasts and you're excited about this one because you're excited about all of them. Or maybe you just need your Zoom fix. You're back in the office and you've been missing these Zoom features. So you wanted to make sure you hopped on a webinar just for fun. All right. So we've got a really wide spread group of results here. So kind of folks from all different sectors, as well as folks that kind of have come for a number of different reasons. But I really appreciate those of you who are kind of always tuning into our webcasts. I really appreciate that. So what I want to do is just very quickly introduce the campus stormwater series here and sort of what we're talking about, what sort of led us to this series. Basically, campuses and universities are a great kind of opportunity in a lot of ways for innovative stormwater management. But they come with their own set of challenges. There's a lot of different priorities. The funding, is stretched pretty thin. The space can be limited depending on where your campus is located. And then, finding the time and energy for, maintenance and upkeep and things like that can be a real challenge. But on the opportunity side, these photos on the screen are all past BUBBA award winners from different campuses and universities, both around the watershed and outside. We've got our Morgan State winning project in the kind of top left, about the 11 o'clock there on the screen. We've got a couple of projects: Best Maintained, Best Ultra Urban from the University of Virginia, a stream restoration from Anne Arundel Community College, as well as a retrofit project at NC State University. So there can be really good and innovative projects that are done. And then there's also, of course, the benefit of having these prestigious research institutions kind of behind some of this work, as well as students who can sort of help support some of these projects as well. So that's kind of why we wanted to bring this forward, sort of talk a little bit about what that looks like across the Bay watershed and see where we can share some lessons and learn some things from our friends and colleagues there in the university sector. So with that, what I'll do is sort of turn it over. We've got three great speakers today: Dr. Hunter, Dr. Kong, and Stephen Barr are all joining us from Morgan State. Going to talk a little bit about their program at the university, with a little bit of a focus sort of on some of their initial work that they did for a stormwater inventory on campus back when they sort of originally got their stormwater permit. We're kind of getting up and rolling, what their challenges were, sort of how they worked with students in some of those processes. And so we're really excited to hear from them today. So I'll let them kind of introduce themselves a bit more. But with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Hunter, who I believe is going to get us started today.
All right. Thank you, David. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Sounds clear.
So again, thanks, David, and thank you to Chesapeake Stormwater Network. Personally, really do appreciate the support that you and Tom have given us over the last year and a half, and really getting to know you guys. Today, myself, Dr. Kong, and Stephen Barr, we're going to talk to you about our experience working with our university as faculty and students and supporting the MS4 requirements for the university, but also give you some background about the university and tell you how we interact and engage our students and our community on this topic of green infrastructure and stormwater management. And we titled this "The Opportunities and Challenges that we Face in Terms of Stormwater Management at Morgan State." I'm James Hunter, and I'm Associate Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering. Dr. Kong is an Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, along with Stephen Barr, who is a recent graduate and currently working at AECOM, but we're anticipating that he is coming back next semester as an incoming graduate student working with us. To give you some introduction about Morgan State University, we're located in Northeast Baltimore. We're a historically Black university, which was founded in 1867. And we're designated as Maryland's preeminent public urban university. We're currently an R2 doctoral research intensive university and aspiring to be a R1 research institution. We currently have close to 8,500 students, all total. Over 7,000 of those students are undergraduate students, 65% of our students hail from the state of Maryland. And we particularly serve a number of students who really come from at-risk backgrounds. And we really pride ourselves on our ability to kind of bring our students up to the level where they're making very momentous contributions to their profession. And what you see on the screen here is just some of the infrastructure that we have at Morgan. And just to kind of show you where our footprint extends to, we even have a what we call Morgan's Pearl. It's the Patuxent Environmental and Aquatic Research Laboratory, and it's essentially an oyster hatchery and research facility where we really try and cater to the fishermen that are there at the mouth of the Patuxent River. So we see ourselves as a growing institution, and really part of our mission is to try and solve and tackle some of the more pressing urban, coastal, and some of the environmental problems that we see in the city, in our region, and in Chesapeake Bay. Here's just a campus map of just the layout of our buildings. And one of the things I want to point out is that Morgan runs up against the Herring Run stream and also the Chickapin stream in Northeast Baltimore. We also see ourselves as a university that is, as some people have termed it, a university in a park. And we're surrounded by a lot of natural green infrastructure, but we also see it as important that the projects and the stormwater management that we have on campus really should have an impact in terms of reducing the detrimental impacts that we see happening to our neighboring streams here. And what you see here is just some images of some of the green infrastructure that we have on campus that is handling stormwater. So as of late, really within the last 10 years, we've been building a lot of new buildings on campus. So new buildings means a growing number of stormwater assets that the university has to manage. And this is really an emerging challenge for the university in terms of maintaining green infrastructure that staff is really not used to dealing with. But we see this as a challenge, but also as a major opportunity for engaging our students and our faculty in some meaningful work and workforce development in assisting the university in dealing with some of these challenges. And just to give you an example of what we're talking about, we had a brand new building that opened up last year, our new Tyler Student Services building. And this is a site where it has been redeveloped. We've taken our old Soper Library, which you see from this image from April 2012. And this site has been redeveloped where essentially the entire site is surrounded by a lot of new green infrastructure. So this redevelopment project brought in 17 new stormwater ESD practices. And they look great now. But again, it's a challenge for the university to now make sure that these systems are well maintained. And so some of those stormwater challenges that we're seeing at Morgan is not only that we have these new practices that need to be maintained, but Morgan is considered a small non-traditional MS4 jurisdiction. And that means the university is responsible for any stormwater that's discharged that goes through its storm drain system. And that the university must comply with its MS4 permit requirements and the annual reporting that is required by the Maryland Department of the Environment. And so the university must demonstrate that It plans to treat and restore areas based on the impervious surface that the university owns. But the university is really constrained by budget and staffing. And this is where, based on those concerns and those constraints, the university began to engage us in the Department of Civil Engineering, since we have some background in stormwater management. And then the other thing is we realized that the university, because it's been building up the number of assets, but hasn't really been well coordinated in terms of the existing data and resources, that's really needed to be dedicated to stormwater management on campus. So again, this is a growing challenge, and there's a lot of pressure that was put on our Department of Design, Construction, and Facilities Management. And again, this is just an opportunity for really the university kind of address some of these budget constraints by engaging with the faculty and students. That's a cost-saving measure. But we also saw this as a really good opportunity to really get our students more engaged in some of these topics, where some of them were really interested in working on some of the stormwater tasks that were given to us. And so when you look at Morgan State as an MS4, there's certain expectations here, and that these MS4 jurisdictions, these smaller jurisdictions, they must have their storm drains mapped in a GIS format. And these are things that these maps have to be continuously updated and refined over time. And they have to be verified in the field in terms of all the different components that you have. And so there are a number of procedures that are set in place to make sure that all that information is updated properly. The other thing is that these jurisdictions must develop and maintain a plan for all of the best management practices that are implemented within its property. And so this has a huge impact on the water quality that comes from these outfalls. And so the university really must make sure that the design, construction, and inspection of those facilities is really kept up to date. And also really making sure that routine maintenance is done, routine inspections are done, and again, verifying that the level of water quality treatment is being provided by these facilities. So when we really got this urgent call in terms of supporting the university, they really needed to meet their first work plan submission that they needed to submit, the first annual report they had to submit to MDE. And so what our team ended up doing is myself, Dr. Kong, and a small group of our students, we were assisting our Office of Facilities, Construction, and Design on their stormwater program, and really helping that office to collect some of that information. And you would think that the office has that information, but sometimes that information is distributed. And a lot of times with the smaller jurisdictions, it's very possible that they really don't know that full inventory and the locations of all of those different stormwater components. So we were basically contracted by the office to really build up that inventory, but also to develop that impervious baseline to determine how much impervious area lies within the boundary of the university, and also to determine the level of restoration that's needed. So in the state of Maryland, MS4s are required to treat up to 20% of that baseline impervious area. The other thing is we have to develop a comprehensive data set of all the stormwater infrastructure for the university. That information was very much distributed. So we had to rely on looking at some archived information. And then the other part of that is we really had to go around and walk the whole entire campus, the inventory, and basically get a GPS location on every single component. The other thing we have to do with that is then make sure that information is established in the GIS data set. And we also wanted to provide certain tools for the university to use in terms of acquiring and maintaining that data. We also wanted to provide some recommendations and some feedback on some of the programmatic efforts that the university needed in terms of meeting the minimum control measures, or the MCMs, that are required of all MS4s. And at the end of this, we were supporting the university in their first year submission of this annual report to MDE. And this was something that we did back in 2019. So the project really kicked off in March 2019, and it ended with the submission to MDE in October of 2019. So the first thing we had to do was really try and get this information on the impervious surface area within the university. So we really relied on some of the expertise that we had from some of our students. We hired a doctoral student at the time who was also a GIS specialist, who was able to take some of that information, put it into ArcGIS. But the issue was, where do you find that impervious information? So one of the main sources that we ended up using was the Chesapeake Conservancy data that they had in terms of land use. But we really ended up relying on the stormwater fee assessment for the city of Baltimore, which actually has all the impervious area calculated for those large landowners. And so we did do an assessment of both of these data sets. And again, we used that Chesapeake Conservancy land use data to kind of get us started, and actually produce a really nice map that we provided to the university. But the easier and more accurate land use data set that we used was really from the city. And we were able to get access to the Stormwater Fee Finder website and basically accumulate all of this impervious surface data for all the lots that made up Morgan State's campus. And what we're able to find is that we have about 83 acres of impervious surface out of about 174 acres total for the university. So after we got that baseline for the impervious surface, we then had to really concentrate on getting our students involved and helping us get that stormwater infrastructure inventory down. And this is where we hired our students during the summertime. Some of them were working on research, others were taking classes during the summer, but we're able to get them together in a group to really help us not only accumulate just the inventory information, but really go through the archive of information that design and construction had. And so one of the first things we did when looking to that archive is really getting some of the utility maps and trying to see where those outfalls were that particularly run along the two streams that border the university. And this is where we really used Stephen Barr. Stephen Barr is one of our brightest and talented students that we have within our department. And he worked very, very diligently with Dr. Kong to actually traverse the streams and to pull that information. Stephen, if you want to go ahead and talk about the work that you did here in terms of building that stormwater infrastructure inventory.
Okay. Um, for this project, primarily, I would say the biggest thing is getting the software figured out. So we ended up
Doesn't look
using,
like you have any reminders set.
okay, ended up using a software called Survey 123. And Survey 123, while it does simplify the process, has its own kind of quirks and oddities. So the enjoy the pictures of us, walking along the stream bank at our university, trying not to fall into the water. Uh, but should we go to the next slide or? Okay, so with the help of the with I'm sorry, with the help of the what is it, AutoCAD, or what? How did we have the information saved before that helped us locate the different features? Was it AutoCAD?
There were AutoCAD drawings that
Yes.
you guys had to go through.
Okay. With the help of digging through university archives for different AutoCAD schematics of the university, we were able to first locate all of the different features and manholes and such, which was surprisingly harder to do than you would think. A lot of them are very well hidden. So, but getting into the software specifically, right? ArcGIS is a bit strange. So it technically can be broken into two separate applications. The field application can be put on any mobile device and is what is directly used to capture the information. Whereas that is sent to a separate admin account that not only needs to first create the survey in which the field application fills out, but also is needed to compile, organize, and export the information out of Survey 123 into a workable ArcGIS file or such and such. So just a short diagram to visualize the process. First, the admin account needs to make the survey before it is uploaded to the cloud. Then any individual device that can connect with the admin account can download the survey and have it on their device. For most things, the field application does not need to be connected to the internet. In fact, you can fill out multiple surveys before you send them away um, over the internet. So when you're in the middle of, say, campus and your device is not connecting to the local internet or it's very slow, it's nice to be able to fill out 10 or 20 surveys and send them all out at the end of the day instead of needing to worry about connection issues. But when all that information is finally sent out to the admin account uh, can export the information. And it's important to note that the license for Survey 123 is directly connected to the admin. If the license runs out, the admin goes down. If the admin goes down, the information goes with it. So it's very important to be exporting it out of Survey 123 and make sure that whoever has the admin account knows what they're doing and knows how the system works. Um, Another diagram, this is what it would look like when you're using the field application. So all of this can be filled out without needing to be connected to the internet. Uh, but the survey can record anything from your location information to the date. Uh, it all depends on what the admin has set the survey up to look like. Also, the admin can set up multiple surveys. And so when you come to any particular feature, you can choose which survey best suits the scenario. So if you're at a drain, use the drain survey. If you're at the BMP, use the BMP survey, and so on and so forth, with subtle differences between them, such and such. So when we did this, I think we ended up having like 4 different surveys for whatever particular feature we would come across and fill that out. Next. Oh, okay. This is what we ended up having at the end of everything. What was it, 300? No, it had to be like close to 500. I'm not doing the math in my head right now. Different surveys filled out with the different colors indicating the different conditions of each survey. And we recorded everything we saw, from the drains to manholes, inlets, outfalls, BMP features, so on and so forth. And all of this can be exported as Excel and as GIS layer. So this, when it's thrown into GIS, you can set it up in such a way to where all of the manholes are on a separate layer than all of the inlets or all of the BMP features. So this is everything turned on all at once, but you can organize it a bit differently based on how you set up the admin account and such and such.
One of the other things that we wanted to help the university do is when looking at one of the MCMs is really looking at public outreach and education. We did attend some external meetings and workshop events. We went to a CWEA event, and we were able to get some pamphlets. So this is kind of giving the university some options to kind of look at what type of information you can give to faculty and students. We also put up flyers. These flyers were provided by Water Environment Federation. So this is just part of that start of that campaign for letting people know about the importance of stormwater, and also trying to advise the university as to how do you advertise this, and thinking about initiating a website where people can contact whoever that point person is, if there is an illicit discharge that somebody sees, or if there's an issue with a BMP or storm drain. Those point of contacts are very important, and they do have to be addressed in terms of the feedback that you give back to the state. So we did give that feedback to the university, and we did start to put up some of these flyers, along with putting up drain markers. So initially we thought we were going to do stencils, but the student that you see here is Hayford 24, and Hayford was doing his doctoral research on stormwater programs and some of the different interventions that are needed to engage people in terms of reducing stormwater pollution. So Hayford actually volunteered to put up those drain markers. We actually engaged DPW, because we also put some of these drain markers in nearby storm drains that were outside of our boundary, but was also within Hayford's study area. So we provided that as part of what was done within that first year work plan. And then the other thing that we wanted to talk about was how we connected some of these opportunities that we see in terms of student learning, training, and research that really came out of not only working with the university on this, but how this um, the whole issue with stormwater management, how it's done on campus, and how that really not only touches what happens on campus and the facilities and operations side, but how stormwater really impacts a broader community um, that we impact. And as we see ourselves as an anchor institution for this part of Baltimore, how we can get our students to really engage with this broader community around Morgan State. And really the start of this really came from this first green building that we built on our campus, which is the Center for the Built Environment and Infrastructure Studies. And this building brings in all of our infrastructure programs at Morgan: civil engineering, transportation, our National Transportation Center, and our School of Architecture and Planning. So this is the home building of our department. But the main thing is this was the first LEED certified building on Morgan's campus in 2012. And with that building brought a number of stormwater practices, which really became like a living laboratory for our students, and really that first tangible introduction to green infrastructure, but also some other very innovative practices, not only just on the stormwater side, but for energy efficiency and materials, and really getting people to kind of change some of their behaviors around energy use. So this is a building which was ranked number 15 in the world in terms of the most impressive environmentally friendly university buildings. This is back in 2014. But this was the building that won, I think, the first Bubba Awards for being in first place for a combination of BMPs that were used. So the BMPs that were designed for this building came from RK&K. The gentleman that you see here, Alfred Jackson, is actually a Morgan State grad. And Alfred is receiving the award from CSN for this. But the building won a number of other accolades from LEED and also other architectural awards. Dr. Kanye, do you want to step in and talk about some of the other features of
you can keep going, because this is just background of the city's building, so it's nothing much about the I can talk.
Okay, so the CBIS building has a number of stormwater facilities, which includes 3 different bioretention systems, 2 green roof decks. It includes porous pavers, pervious pavers, a gray water treatment system, a rainwater harvesting system that comes off of our 2 green roof decks. And again, this was one of the top projects that came about in the state of Maryland. So we're very proud of that building. But what we saw is that this really gave us an opportunity to help facilitate the learning and interest that our students were having in green infrastructure. So you see here, this is me giving a tour to our intro to civil engineering students on our green roof. We also opened up a energy efficient buildings class. So this class is really geared towards our students getting that first accreditation and getting their LEED GA. But the other big thing that happened is over the last 10 years that we've been in this building, we've been participating in the EPA Rainworks competition. And so this has been a very interdisciplinary effort between students in civil engineering, landscape architecture. The professor you see here is Archana Sharma, who we work very closely with. She's working with our civil engineering students. And we've been participating in this campus Rainworks competition But it's been a real good opportunity for our students to really first learn what's happening in CBIS and really seeing how they can apply what they're learning to other areas at campus. And so we saw with that students were beginning to become more engaged with not only the people on campus in terms of facilities, because it was mandatory within the Rainworks competition that they have to engage with the director of facilities. So in this case, this is our assistant vice president for design, construction, and facilities. This is Kim McCullough here. But our students were also going out into the surrounding neighborhoods, working on senior projects, getting involved with Blue Water Baltimore, doing stenciling training, working with Cityscape Engineering, with Nick and Kelly Lindau, and Union Brewing Company that operates along the Jones Falls, and looking at potential projects, and then having even additional engagements with other community groups and political leaders in the area. We've also extended this engagement with the Chesapeake Stormwater Network. And so this past summer, we had Tom Schuler come in and address a number of our graduate students who are working particularly on research around maintenance of green stormwater infrastructure. And again, our consistent participation in the Campus Rainworks Challenge, we haven't won the competition, but I think EPA really recognized that our faculty and our students have been really working hard and very interested in these projects. This is a project that was led by Dr. Kong and a group of students. Dr. Kong, this is last year or 2 years ago that we participated in this?
Yes, correct.
And this constant participation, EPA really recognized, and they awarded us a technical assistance pilot award that's valued at $70,000. So this allows consultants that EPA has hired to come work with the constructions and facilities folks, along with the faculty members, to conduct an upcoming charrette that's really going to invite a variety of stakeholders, students, faculty, staff, but also people from the surrounding neighborhoods and also other professionals to come to Morgan's campus to talk about stormwater and to really address some of the issues that we're having on campus, and to have a campus green infrastructure report. So this is again something that's an additional investment and really a blessing for us as we're looking to continue the work that we're doing with the MS4. And these are other senior projects that have come out of that effort. So we've had a number of senior projects, Dr. Kong, myself, and some of our colleagues. We see a number of capstone design projects that our students are producing on a yearly basis, coming up with conceptual designs, working with other faculty and students and other departments, and really trying to reimagine what can happen on campus in terms of applying green stormwater infrastructure, and what that impact will be in terms of reducing pollution and water quantity that comes from stormwater. In terms of some of the student benefits, we'll have Stephen talk about some of the benefits that he's experienced from working on the projects with the MS4, and then working on some of the other things voluntarily with us in the civil engineering department.
So I'll keep this relatively brief, but the two major things that this experience has done for me is one is given me inspiration as to what to do for my senior design project in school. A lot of students like to design their senior projects based around a problem about campus or near it or with the local community. So mine ended up being a slope stabilization project and doing all the calculations for a slope stabilization solution. And I feel like a project like this that gets students out in the field and familiar with the university is really just helpful in general for, you know, not only familiarizing yourself with the campus, but also giving you an idea of what is feasible and what you could design a project around. The other thing is, surprisingly, after moving away from this project, I end up working for AECOM doing manhole inspections. And just recently, we've switched over to using Survey 123 again. So, bit of a closed circle there. Um, I would say that my familiarity with the software has helped me in this project and understanding how to install and use it out in the field. So overall, I think this is a nice microcosm starting point for a lot of students to be familiar with working with larger teams and getting some of that early experience that they never know when or where, but could be useful later down the line. So
Thank you. The other thing that has come out of these experiences for our students is new research. So this is an example of a project that came about after we did the MS4 work for the university, and the idea came up that we could possibly use drones to try and verify some of the performance metrics for green infrastructure. So if we're very interested in, say, plant survivability or plant health, we're looking at ways that we can measure that, and perhaps also using machine learning to identify certain BMP conditions or to identify invasive species that may be growing in some of these practices. And so what you see here is one of our current doctoral students, Jingwen Zhu. She is flying a drone over one of our green roofs that we have on campus. So again, we go back and we look at the university, and we understand that even after our deliverables to the university, there's still going to be some challenges that the university faces. There's a lot of data that needs to be managed, and we understand that some of that information was kind of hard to locate. We did reorganize some of that information or provided it back to the university. Unfortunately, during the course of the project, we did run into some issues with some ransomware that hit our cloud drive. And so we had to reduce some of that effort towards the end of our project. And then the other thing that the university is probably going to be challenged with is just maintenance of records, right? Keeping up with as-built plans and calculations. We talked to the university about making sure that that information that's coming from the engineers and other contractors, that information is readily collected in a particular form. So when it comes time to look at the restoration plans, that information is really easy to locate and then provide back to MDE in that annual reporting. Really the biggest issue for the university is budget and looking at investing in this program. I think when the mandate came up that the university had to be responsive with the annual reporting for the MS4, that kind of hit that panic button. And so university does realize that it has to invest in this and also invest in staffing. And talking with our assistant VP, they did hire a manager to now take charge of some of the stormwater work for them. But what they were dealing with before was just a bandwidth issue and just not having enough staff overall with the number of projects that are coming on campus, particularly with the other capital investments. And we also understand that this is an issue for other MS4s. but it's just one of those things that there has to be an investment, and the university has to work through that long-term strategy for funding this program and further developing the program and really keeping up with the mandates within that MS4. And really the biggest thing that the university is going to have to look at is the routine inspections and maintenance of some of these practices. So, you know, we're very, very proud of our BUBBA award from the Chesapeake Stormwater Network. But what we're now finding is that those award-winning BMPs need some TLC, right? So really looking at not only the maintenance that's required, but also maybe going back and looking at design that was done and really realizing that under the normal wear and tear and operating conditions of these BMPs, that sometimes if you're not doing enough maintenance, you're not going to get that proper functionality out of this. So in terms of maintenance, university staff has to be aware that there has to be some work in terms of unclogging some of the drains, doing some maintenance in terms of sweeping or blowing or vacuuming the porous pavers, and also seeing that we're really getting this clogging that's occurring. There's some other things that we're seeing, namely the way that your bioretention system may have been planted over time without maintenance is really going to end up looking a bit overgrown. But the other thing is there are some operating conditions and how this is functioning where there's standing water. We're also seeing some wetland species growing. So this bioretention is essentially working more like a constructed wetland at this point. And so university will have to work and probably consult with MDE to figure out what's the best way to restore this BMP and then making sure that this is being properly credited. The other thing that we're seeing is some inconsistency in terms of maintenance. A lot of times you have somebody that comes in with a weed whacker and just takes out all the plants during the middle of the spring or summertime. So that consistency needs to be found with that maintenance department. The other thing that we're seeing is some of the older ponds that we have on campus are being taken over by Phragmites. And so there have been some other consultants that have come on campus to provide some guidance for the university on the maintenance and upkeep of not only the newer BMPs, but some of the older BMPs. But again, that work has to be funded, and figuring out if that is a contractor that comes in to do the work or what work needs to be done in-house with staff that's properly trained. But the last thing here is we see some of these challenges as some future opportunities. Obviously, as researchers, we look at this as opportunities for applied research and innovation, and using our university and the BMPs that we see as kind of like the test bed for some of this work that we want to do. And we also should be looking at monitoring and doing some laboratory analyses. And some of that work can really help the university in terms of maybe cutting some costs in terms of illicit discharge and testing and monitoring that needs to go on. But the other big opportunity that we're looking at and that we're starting to work with the Chesapeake Stormwater Network is to really look at workforce development and really trying to leverage the interest that we see from our students and our faculty and get more of our students trained in this area. And if they're trained, then they can really lend their time to the university, and the time that those students can put in, our staff can put in, if they're properly trained, really would save the university some money, and as opposed to outsourcing some of this work. But this also provides some opportunities for internships, for field training and shadowing that can go on. So at the end of this, we do want to give some acknowledgements for our MS4 team. I do personally want to thank Dr. Kong for helping us out. We were in a time crunch at the end of this project to get some of this work done. And Dr. Kong gave us a lot of support, along with Stephen, gave a lot of extra effort above and beyond what a lot of other team members did. We also want to acknowledge Kim McCullough, who's our Assistant VP for Design and Construction Facilities, David Yu, who's one of the managers within that department, the other facilities management staff, but also Trinell Griffin, Celia Khan, and the other undergraduate and graduate students that worked with us on that project back in 2019. So with that, we'll end there and open it up for any questions that anybody may have.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think there's obviously a ton of information here, really great overview of the programs, but also sort of, the different ways that you guys are, kind of working on stormwater, not just kind of the nuts and bolts of, putting projects in and maintaining them, but sort of doing the education and outreach program, development, training, all of that. So yeah, if there's questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I have one or two, as long as you guys can hang for a couple of minutes. We can go just a little bit over 1 o'clock, if that's all right. So we did have a question come in from Cityscape. Is there a monitoring program as part of your university's MS4 requirement?
There needs to be, as part of that future planning with the MS4. So that is a requirement. We do need to work with the university staff in terms of that monitoring. And again, it's real important because again, we do brush up against that, the Heron Run and Chesapeake.
I had a question for you, and this is something that kind of comes up a lot when I talk to sort of younger students and folks that are kind of looking to get into stormwater. Stormwater management doesn't traditionally have like a home in a lot of campuses. There's not sort of like a stormwater department or, things like that. And so I was just sort of wondering, how you guys, or what you felt sort of the biggest factor was in sort of developing a little bit of an emphasis or, more interest among your students and some of your faculty in stormwater management that sort of helped build the program a bit more, at least on the academic side, at least, that hopefully will carry forward into the MS4 program as well.
Yeah, I think it helps when there's some synergy between faculty members who are really interested in that area and really embedded in that in terms of their research. And what we've been doing as of late is we're really trying to tailor our undergraduate and graduate programs to kind of meet those interests, where our students are and where our faculty are at the moment. Dr. Kong has developed 3 new courses on the graduate side for stormwater, and he's also led we're also looking at instituting a new program in sustainable urban environmental engineering as well. So a major component of that will also be looking at green infrastructure and climate change impacts that we're expecting in the urban environment. So we really want to tailor that program in that direction, but also really focus on the impacts that we know that are likely to be very important within the city of Baltimore. Because a number of our students end up not leaving the city because they love Baltimore, and they continue to work for a number of our local agencies and our state agencies. So we also want to make sure that we're addressing those immediate needs of those stakeholders as well.
Great. And one last question for you, unless there are any others from the audience, and it's just sort of, what the relationship is sort of like between the students and faculty side of things with the facilities and maintenance, team on campus, and sort of how that collaboration works, and sort of along with that, you mentioned the budget constraints associated with sort of the reporting and the upkeep and the monitoring. And so, you know, what successes have you had, or sort of what strategies are you using to kind of build the case at the school, you know, and maybe with the administration about the importance of stormwater management and sort of getting these collaborations with faculty and staff?
Dr. Kong, did you want to answer any of that?
You better than
I
me
mean-
about the relation about how is success this program, because you have a good relation in the school and local agency. Probably you can explain about that better than me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously the university is going to feel some pressure, because if they're not responsive to what's needed out of that annual reporting, there could be a likely fine coming. So that kind of pushes people into action. But we've had a lot of success, really based on that ongoing process of really knocking on the door of the VP and saying, hey, we're participating in this stormwater challenge. And so she's always known that there's a core group of students and faculty always working on those issues. And so that's why she was has immediate response for coming to us and saying, okay, can you guys support this? Because at the time when they did need to be responsive to the annual reporting, there was that budget crunch, but they had some dollars left over at the end of their fiscal year, where it was enough to support the students and what the faculty were able to do. But again, they need to try and leverage some of that to try and see, again, really trying to establish that long-term budget and investment that's needed for this. And I think that's something that they're working on in terms of communicating that to the rest of the administration. But that's something that the school definitely has to work on in terms of budgeting and really putting some resources towards that. But we would hope to continue to work with the university to try and provide some of that support and guidance. And we're hopefully going to get some additional guidance and support out of that technical assistance pilot that we're doing with EPA.
Great. Well, I'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Thanks for staying a couple minutes over, and thanks so much to all three of you for sharing your thoughts and you know, lessons on the program that you guys are doing. You've done some really great work. I'm excited, you know, that CSN has been working with you all more, and I'm sort of, you know, looking forward to sort of what else we can do in the future. I'll just put a reminder to other folks before you jump off. I did put the link to our evaluation survey in the chat. If you can click on that and answer just 3 questions. It'll take you less than a minute to fill it out, but it helps us make a case for our funders and also improve our programs and the types of content that we're bringing to you all. So I appreciate that. So again, I'll just, you know, wrap it up. Thank you all again. And thanks everybody for joining. Be on the lookout for registration for our other campus, the Stormwater series webcasts, as well as other materials. I will get the recording for this up very shortly, hopefully no later than the end of this week for sure. And so if you would like a link before then or otherwise, please feel free to reach out and let me know. And I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you much.
Thank you.